On Tuesday, June 16th, 2025, the House of Commons, the lower house in British Parliament, passed the near-birth abortion law. On Friday, June 20th, 2025, they passed the bill in support of assisted suicide, the day after Corpus Christi. Keep these dates in mind. June 16th, June 20th, the same week. NPR, National Public Radio, reports the near-birth abortion law as follows. In a landslide vote last Tuesday, lawmakers in the lower house of British Parliament, the House of Commons, endorsed new legislation that bars women in England and Wales from ever being investigated, arrested, persecuted, or imprisoned for terminating their own pregnancies, no matter what term or trimester they're in. The vote was 379 to 137. One of the most famous cases of women who've been persecuted is that of Nicola Parker, who delivered a stillborn baby at home at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. After taking abortion medicine prescribed by a doctor over the phone when she was about 26 weeks pregnant. At trial, she told jurors she thought she was only 6 weeks along. She was arrested, jailed, and ultimately acquitted last month. The new law is about recognizing these women need care and support and not criminalization. The author of the amendment to the new law, Tonia Antoniazzi, told Parliament, calling the old law outdated and Victorian. Others say the new law doesn't go far enough. End quote. So keep all this in mind. Furthermore, in the same period, a war erupted just over a week prior, the week prior to this, June 13th. Feast of St. Anthony of Padua and of an apparition of Our Lady of Fatima, when Our Lady asked us to pray the Oh My Jesus prayer. When Israel launched, on this day, intercontinental missiles 1,500 kilometers away, targeting sites in Tehran, Iran, and Iraq. And Iran responded the following day. I find it deeply ironic that as the specter of war rose in this period, abortion laws of this nature were being intensified at the same time. This brings to mind Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta, who nearly half a century ago, upon receiving her Nobel Peace Prize on October 17th, 1979, made a poignant connection between abortion and war, asserting that as long as there is abortion, there is war. What the British government has done is extend the boundaries within which one can terminate a child in the womb. What used to be 6 months is now near birth. This sets a dangerous precedent, hinting that soon arbitrary definitions may emerge, allowing for the kind of infanticide that Peter Singer controversially suggested in his book, Practical Ethics, first published the same year that Mother Teresa received her Nobel Peace Prize, 1979. What comes next? One begs to question. What other arbitrary justifications will society create to sanction the taking of life? In such a context, can anyone truly feel safe? These developments lead us to grapple with the boundaries that define life and death. What does it mean to be human? The intertwining of issues concerning abortion, assisted suicide, and the implication of conflicts highlights a troubling paradox in our societal values. As Mother Teresa's words resonate, we must engage in open and compassionate dialogue about these complex issues. The definitions of life must be approached with care, empathy, and steadfast commitment to upholding the dignity of every human person. In such a context, we are invited to consider these essential questions, urging a deeper exploration of our collective values and ethics in a world where the sanctity of life seems increasingly precarious. Catholic teaching on abortion emphasizes that life is a gift from God, deserving of protection and reverence. If it's a gift from God, then obviously there needs to be reverence given towards it. The Church articulates that every human being, created naturally in the image of God, potentially growing in his likeness by grace, and potentially seeing and participating in his glory in heaven, possesses this inherent dignity. Abortion not only undermines this dignity, but also reflects a societal mindset that devalues life, reducing it to a matter of convenience or choice of an apparent good. Keep that in mind. It's a choice between a good and an apparent good. It's not a choice between a good and an evil. Nobody chooses evil. They think they're choosing a good, the apparent good. The connection between the sanctity of life celebrated in the Eucharist and the Church's stance on abortion lies in the understanding that both stem from a recognition of God's presence in each person. What Ficino and Pico della Mirandola and other 15th century humanists did is now coming to fruition. Separating man from God, philosophy from theology, and every other separation to follow, we find a fractured, confused humanity that does not know where it's from and where it's going. Like a character madly in search of its author, as Pirandello would wisely express our current existential crisis. Saint Mother Teresa's assertion that as long as there is abortion, there is war, draws a poignant parallel between the two issues. Both are manifestations of a culture that fails to honor life. Abortion represents a denial of the fundamental right to life, while war often results from a disregard for the dignity of the human person. The mindset cultivated by a society that accepts abortion may indeed foster an environment where violence, conflict, and dehumanization thrive, as is increasingly evident in our society. When the sanctity of life is compromised, it can lead to a broader acceptance of violence and destruction, whether through war or through the termination of innocent lives. If I can kill in the womb, after all, what is to stop me from killing outside the womb? Evidence of this relationship can be observed in the increasing acceptance of violence in various forms, from domestic abuse to armed conflict, often justified by a failure to recognize the inherent worth of every individual person. For instance, we think of the recent June 13th, 2025, the same date, I beg you to remember, Yelawita attacks in the Benue state of Nigeria. Strangely, again, the same day of the attacks in Iran. And because of that, most international media ignored it. Armed gunmen in this incident launched an attack during the night, killing between 100 to 150 people, burned houses, market stalls, as well as other valuables. Many victims were women and children seeking refuge in the local market, dislocated because their homes had already been burned. This attack is part of the persisting insecurity in the middle belt of Nigeria, especially the Benue states. We see how the culture of death, which is the culture that denied God, Dominum et vivificantum, Lord and giver of life, this denial of this God, of God himself, perpetuated by abortion, can then desensitize individuals to the value of life, creating a societal norm where conflict becomes an acceptable means of addressing disagreements or achieving goals. All of this, however, precipitously comes to a point that is intolerable, as we are now witnessing. As St. Augustine wrote at the beginning of the City of God, in fine motus velocior, in the end, everything accelerates indeed. And this acceleration is what brings the avalanche to crash even more forcefully and to bring to a halt the craziness a society without God entails. In responding to the rising tide of pro-abortion and pro-assisted suicide laws, as well as the ongoing wars, it is essential to cultivate hope, resilience, resistance. We must remember that our faith calls us to be agents of love and compassion in a world that often seems hostile to life. This Jubilee year provides a unique opportunity for renewal and grace. We are invited to deepen our commitment to the sanctity of life through prayer, advocacy, and acts of charity. Spiritual practices such as Eucharistic adoration can help us draw strength from Christ's presence, reminding us of the power of love and sacrifice. Engaging in community service, supporting pregnancy care centers, participating in peaceful protests can also be ways to affirm life and stand against the culture of death. As we navigate these challenges, we must remember that hope is not passive. It requires action and a willingness to engage with the world around us. By fostering a culture of life through our words and deeds, we can counter the narratives that promote despair and violence. Our faith calls us to be beacons of light, embodying the love of Christ in every interaction and advocating for the dignity of every human being. In doing so, we can remain steadfast, knowing that God is with us in our efforts to build a more just and compassionate world. Thank you for your attention. God bless you.